tuning in. This is It's Covered, the Insurance Podcast, because if you think insurance is boring and you are not doing it properly, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. I am here, as always, with Mel. How's it going, man?
How you doing? Doing good. Just ready to get going.
Yeah, so I was watching Twitch this weekend, and it made me think of insurance. Naturally, because, this is what we do, right? Everything makes us...
Naturally.
It makes us think of insurance.
That's right. That's why it's so exciting.
Right. So I was watching specifically eSports. So I think that because of the general insurance professional, I think I have to explain every part of the statement that I just made. Because I could just see all of you in your car right now.
Waiting on pins and needles.
Right, going, what is Twitch? What is eSports? So Twitch is, I guess the easiest way to explain Twitch is it's like the YouTube for gaming. But with much more of a focus on live streaming. And so this is where people go to watch other people play video games. And I know half of your eyes just glossed over right there, but stick with me. All right. So, eSports is a certain segment of that world, of the gaming world, that is dedicated to competitive gaming. And this normally finds its way in like real-time strategy games like StarCraft 2, where it's one player against one player and they command, their armies of forces against one another. Or they have multiplayer arena games like League of Legends, like Dota 2. And these are, typically a team against a team. And they have a certain type of a board, like an area that their characters walk in. Their characters have different abilities, and it's much more of like a team versus team battle, except, in a computer environment. And so it's pretty, fantasy heavy with different magical abilities and that sort of thing. So, Melvin, have I lost you yet?
No, because I am very adept and I understand competitive gaming. I played Monopoly and and it was very competitive in my household. Right, yeah, it's so competitive.
You probably had one or two games end up with the Monopoly board overturned on the floor. If your family's anything like my family and everybody else's.
Yeah, it ended up. It was usually the banker section because there was always a power struggle for the bank of Monopoly.
Right. I actually, and I didn't play this game, but this is a little off topic. But I saw played a kind of. I mean, it was a game, but what it was trying to simulate, board games on the internet so that you could play with people from different areas. And, if you had friends from different towns, couldn't get together, you could still play Monopoly. And it was kind of cool because all the pieces were, you could move them around just like any other like an actual board game, and you could put them wherever you wanted to, and you had your pile of tokens and whatever it was. But, one of the cool things you could do was that you could flip the table. And and it was a nice touch that yes, you could actually grab that board and flip it over. So, people understanding the competitive nature of all of us, but yeah, so this is what this is. And the reason this made me think of insurance was because I actually flipped between several different games in different leagues. And I saw State Farm's logo on nearly every single one. And
oh, wow.
And that kind of got me thinking, because my first instinct on this, and just tell me if I'm wrong, my first instinct on this is what I can't imagine the demographics of the eSports fan being part of State Farm's target audience. Am I wrong in that?
Yeah, I mean, there are companies out there that I would kind of think that would be their target, but State Farm wouldn't be the one that would pop to mind.
Right. I mean, yeah, even if you're going to be an insurance company advertising on eSports, I have a picture in my head of who the average eSports fan is. And, State Farm, in Texas, and I know in most other places, State Farm is really kind of, going after, they're one of the more higher end insurance companies. They're going after a certain segment of the population, and that segment is not lining up with what I'm picturing.
Yeah, I would think, eSurance would be primed and ready to take that spot, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So like an eSurance, like a Geico or someone like that. So that got me curious because Mel knows this. I don't know that our audience knows this, but there are certain things that you and I are good at, and there are certain things we're not good at. And one of the things I'm not very good at is marketing. And I try really hard to learn. And this is one of those cases where I'm trying to think through the marketing so that I have a better grasp on it, because it's not one of my strong points. And so
you keep dropping the sign.
So what?
Did you keep dropping the sign as you were spinning it during marketing?
Yes. As I'm outside the office trying to twirl that thing around the head, I really just kind of wore the skin on my neck. It's really raw. Oh gosh. Well, and so, I mean, so being not all that great at marketing, instead of thinking, well, State Farm's an idiot, collective moron for, targeting the wrong audience, I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, okay, State Farm is better at this than me. So what is it they know that I don't? And I thought, and so that kind of got me on a hunt a little bit, just to do a little bit of research. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of walk through that, because, so many of the audience here are agents or work in an agency or in part of sales at some point. And so, it might be worthwhile for us to kind of dig into how, how maybe State Farm is reaching this decision to target that audience. And kind of what we can learn from it.
Yeah, I think,
you hesitated pretty good. That's
well, I'm really trying to figure out how they're smarter on the marketing. And I'm thinking the only thing that would pop to mind is, if they're advertising, I guess maybe the competitive gaming people aren't the ones that would wake up at 8 a.m. and go down and visit their local agent. They would probably do a insurance, a quick click, and then get what they need and get on with their gaming.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm thinking, right off the bat. And I also have, so what I found was, and I found this report. This is a study done by the Nielsen company, and Nielsen is famous for their television ratings analysis and such. And so I will put a link in the show notes to this report. It's pretty interesting. It doesn't have all the information I wanted in it, but it is pretty interesting. So the first thing that I'm looking at is what is the age of the viewer? Because State Farm is not looking for the 16-year-old with their first car. State Farm is a company that wants households. And so, do they know something about the age and family makeup of the esports fan that I don't know? So before I tell you, do you have a guess as to the average age of the esports fan?
I'm baffled. The more you kept talking about it, I have no clue now. I would think the average age, if I were to guess, would be like 12 to 22.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, but the average age is actually 26. Now let's put that into context. The average age of broader sports is 28. So we're looking at a demographic that is remarkably close to, as far as age goes, to sports in general.
Wow.
And so some other stuff that I found was pretty interesting. First of all, it is primarily male, like by a vast margin.
Right.
Much more of a margin than normal, traditional sports.
Yeah, it's with anything. I mean, if it's, my wife, could care less about football.
Right. Yeah.
Or any sport that I'm watching. So, I would think esports would probably be the same.
Yeah. So like traditional sports, 61% of the audience is male. If we go into soccer, it goes down a little bit to 59. So esports is 71. So there's a pretty big chunk there, but it's still primarily, both aspects are primarily, male audience.
Right.
And I think that's pretty interesting because one thing I don't know, and I feel like I should know this, is since, and this is one of the reasons I'm not that good in marketing, because this is my field and I should know this, is what is the percentage of insurance shoppers that are male versus female? And I don't know the answer to that. We can kind of guess as to who we talk to, but, we're in a small town, a southern small town, and they're going to have probably different cultural expectations than somebody who might be in a big town. But in general, I don't know the answer to that. And so if it is primarily male, hey, sports might be really, right up our alley of what we should be targeting.
Yeah, I'm baffled. When it comes to shoppers, I really don't see it leaning one way or another. In my experiences, it was, I would think that I honestly don't know. I thought it would be split right down the middle.
Yeah. And it may be, and I'm honestly not sure. Another really interesting thing is that esports fans don't watch much regular TV. So in the US, the esports fan is watching 4.4 hours of just normal television a week. That's a week. That's like 40 minutes a day.
Wow.
That's pretty low. And 8.2 hours a week playing video games. So they're actually gaming nearly twice as much as they're watching television. And so right away, this is telling me, and it's probably telling State Farm too, that if you want to put a logo in front of this group of people, then, the television commercial is not going to do it.
Yeah. And advertising firms and people who do advertising, they're really big on numbers and demographics, and that, wow, sounds about right, I guess.
Yeah. And so, so far, I'm like looking at all this stuff and going, hey, State Farm might be onto something here, because this audience is older than I thought. You know, they're harder to reach with traditional advertising. And so they might be onto something. Something else that kind of surprised me, but I really shouldn't necessarily be surprised by it, is that, you know, most esports fans are living in a household of 3 people. Now, this actually makes sense, because with an average age of 26, you're going to have people who are younger than that, and they might be still living with their parents, and you're going to have people older than that, and that's about the time when, you know, the average person starts getting married and perhaps having kids. And so it shouldn't be that surprising to us based on the numbers we've looked at so far, but it is going against the image that we probably had in our heads of the pathetic nerd loner who is, you know, all by himself in an apartment.
Yeah.
I just described myself from, like, you know, 20 years ago, but, you know, but that's a good target for State Farm, because, like I said, State Farm is going after households. You know, they're not as specific, they're not specifically like say like a Geico, who are primarily going after the auto. State Farm wants the whole house.
Well, that's definitely a good move. That it looks like, you know, other people didn't catch on or wanted to wait and see if they, you know, if that experiment worked.
Yeah, absolutely. So, now, everything I've looked at so far are, is really looking in State Farm's favor here. The last section should, though, give us pause. And we, as insurance professionals, you know, we before we all jump on the sports bus here, we do need to look at this as well, because, one of the sections here is that esports fans prefer endemic sponsors. So what we're referring to here are sponsors that are directly tied to what we're watching. And so, you know, like brand apparel of what they're doing, you know, the machines that they're playing on, let's advertise for those. The particular game that they're playing, advertise for those. Some categories that are not, you know, directly connected, but are close enough, are like internet service providers. You know, hey, if you're sitting here watching League of Legends, if you want faster internet connection for yourself, call whoever. Energy drinks or snack foods or technology companies. These are close. Then they have this category for least appropriate categories, you know, stuff that the esports fan would really kind of shy away from. First thing on the list is insurance. And so,
wow.
You know, this is the first thing actually in this report, and I'm on page 23. This is the first thing in this report that's really giving me pause and thinking, you know, that is a rough tie-in. You know, and what I'm seeing from State Farm is simply their logo flashing in the corner of the screen. You know, esports typically doesn't have, I'm not going to make blanket statements that none of them do, but a lot of them don't have like specific commercial breaks. They make money in a lot of the ways that Twitch streamers make money. And also by having these sponsors, in the corner of the screen during gameplay, you know, mentioned before and after the match and that sort of thing. And so I'm seeing State Farm's logo there a lot, but, this does make me wonder how much connection they're really making with the esports fan. You know, it's like, hey, you just watched, so-and-so club such and such over the head, and it got countered with a magical wall spell. Wouldn't you like some car coverage? You know, it's like a tough jump. It's not that big of a jump to saying, you know, don't you need a better computer too? You know, or don't you need faster internet? Or, you know, or, here, some Cheetos. You know, I would go for some Cheetos. I mean,
maybe it's along the lines of, you know, the light shining on the computer. All the lights are out in the house. The wife comes downstairs and, you know, who are you playing with? With Jake from State Farm. So, yeah, you know, Jake's popping up everywhere.
Right. Playing some StarCraft. He defends his, you know, she defends her base terribly. Well, she's a guy, so.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, goodness. That'd be hilarious. So, yeah, I don't, you know, I mean, you know, based on this, it's clear that, I mean, State Farm has thought this through better than I had. I would be really curious to see how well it's working for them. But, you know, it does seem clear that they did dig into the demographics of esports. They didn't just dismiss esports as, you know, some, you know, pimple-faced nerd teenagers who don't have dates on Saturday night, and so they watch Dota. You know, they did their homework. You know, they took the market seriously, and they saw something there they liked. So I'm very curious as to how it ends up working out for them. But, you know, the kind of the lesson I'm learning when I look at stuff like this is to not just assume that I understand a particular demographic, you know, based on our stereotypes and that sort of thing. Is that, you know, there might be some like an untapped market because everyone else is just dismissing them when we really should be paying attention.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a little bit of a different episode, but, you know, like we've said over and over again, we want to kind of dig into, all aspects of kind of our insurance world. And marketing is a big one, and it's something that we're trying to get better at. And so, you know, if you have any thoughts on that, you know, please do contact us. It's Covered Podcast at gmail.com. Go to itscovered.net to connect with us there. But, you know, for those who are here for the first time, this is kind of what we do. It's just kind of, we do a bunch of random topics that are related to our world.
Did you need, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we lost Mel.
No, I was listening to it, but yeah, it's. I mean, things that are you don't know that insurance touches, or that you never really considered it, and we kind of explore a little bit more into that. So I think the advertising part of it is definitely the way that you know, companies are trying to get their product out there, and insurance touches every aspect of it, and that's definitely something that you know, everybody needs to look at, every company.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, you know, when we first started getting into insurance, we really had no idea of how much we were going to have to learn about a bunch of stuff to do this well. And that's one of the points of this podcast is to really kind of have that conversation with you, and to have a little bit of back and forth on stuff that, you know, a lot of new people don't even realize that we have to deal with, but we do. And so, for those of you who do tune in every week, we thank you so much. We really do appreciate your loyalty and the conversations we've had. had already with you, and we do hope that you will share this with your office, with your friend, the agent down the street, with another adjuster, or whatever the case may be, and we'll continue the conversation and probably pick some other random topic that we need to delve into next week.
Looking forward to it.